you noticed how some men become like a drug to women? Just one eye contact, and she's hooked. While other men, no matter how hard they try, no matter how many gifts, no matter how many texts, they never leave an impression. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself why? Is it luck? Is it looks? Is it because of $100 million in a bank account, a big house in London, or a luxury car parked in Manchester? If that's what you believe, you've already been lied to. Because if money and looks were enough, your last girl would have stayed loyal. But she didn't, did she? She left, she betrayed you. She walked away with someone else, and that pain is still burning inside you right now. And here's the dark truth no one told you. Women don't get addicted to money. They don't get addicted to cars. They don't even get addicted to good men who try too hard. They get addicted to something much deeper, something hidden inside the male. Psychology. Connected with the darkest corners of female psychology. The kind of energy that makes her chase you. The kind of mindset that makes her obsessed. Checking her phone for your name. Replaying your words, dreaming about you nonstop. And today I'm going to expose that dark psychology. The secrets that don't come from luck, wealth, or charm, but from Stoic philosophy and timeless female psychology. Because once you learn this, you won't just attract women. You'll become her obsession. So before we dive in, tell me this in the comments. What's the one betrayal from your past relationship you'll never forget? Write it now, because after this video, you'll never be betrayed the same way again. 1. The one thing called emotional contrast. If you ask most men in London or Manchester why their relationships lose spark, they'll tell you, I did everything right. I was always there. I was always kind. I never argued. I gave her everything. Yet in the end, she drifted away. Why? Because addiction doesn't come from predictability. Addiction comes from contrast. A woman doesn't become obsessed with a man who makes her feel the same emotion every day. She becomes obsessed with the man who takes her through an emotional journey, who can make her laugh at one moment, challenge her thoughts the next, and then surprise her with a glimpse of depth that no one else gets to see. That emotional roller coaster is the very thing her mind replays when she's lying awake at night. Think about the music of life in English counties. Walk into a jazz bar in Birmingham or a pub in York where a live band is playing. What keeps the crowd hooked? It's not a flat note repeated over and over. It's the rise and fall, the unexpected pauses, the energy shifts. Human emotions work the same way. Now picture this. A man in Oxford takes a woman out for coffee on a rainy afternoon. He's not trying to impress her with endless compliments. Instead, he playfully disagrees with her about something trivial. Maybe she insists that Brighton's seaside fish and chips are the best in England, while he argues that nothing beats Whitby's. She laughs, fires back, and feels the fun energy. Then as the conversation slows, he shares a personal story about his childhood, something real. Maybe how he struggled with confidence at school but used it to build his discipline later in life. Suddenly the room shifts. She sees his depth. That transition from playful to profound is what locks him in her memory. Women in places like Leeds, Canterbury, and London are surrounded by men who pick one lane and never leave it. Some are endlessly serious. Others are clowns who can't stop joking. But the man who moves between those worlds, serious one moment, playful the next, then mysterious, then warm, he is the one who sparks obsession. Psychology proves this. The human brain is wired to crave unpredictability and emotions. That's why gambling is addictive, not because of the win itself, but because you never know when it's coming. Apply that same principle to relationships, and you understand why emotional contrast keeps her hooked. She never fully knows what's next with you, but she trusts that whatever it is will make her feel alive. So if you want her addicted, don't be flat. Don't be predictable. Make her laugh in Cambridge. Then challenge her views in Nottingham. Then open up in Sheffield. Be the full symphony, not just a single note. Because the man who gives her emotional contrast is the man she'll never forget. Shows you the second thing called controlled attention. Now let's talk about the second addiction trigger. Controlled attention. In today's world, attention is the rarest currency. Walk through London's Oxford Street or Manchester's Deansgate, and you'll see thousands of people glued to their phones, desperate for someone's validation. That's the world we live in. Endless noise, endless craving for attention. So when a man knows how to control his attention, to give it fully when it matters and hold it back when it doesn't, he becomes unforgettable. Here's the mistake most men make in Liverpool, Bristol, or York. They think giving her constant attention, texting nonstop, complimenting every picture, being available 24/7 will win her heart. But in reality, the more attention you give without control, the less value it holds. It's like sugar, too much and it loses its sweetness. Instead, think about how scarcity makes value rise. Imagine you're at Cambridge University Library, and there's a rare book only a handful of people can access. Everyone wants it because it's not available to everyone every time. That's exactly how attention works. When you make it rare, she treasures it. Picture a man in Leeds who spends a magical evening with a woman. They laugh, they connect, the chemistry is real. He sends her a thoughtful text afterward. Short but meaningful. Had a great time? You're full of surprises. Then he doesn't send 10 more texts chasing her. He leaves space. He lets her sit with the memory. That silence, that gap makes her wonder, and that wondering is where the addiction forms. Controlled attention isn't about playing childish games, it's about self-respect. It's about showing that you have your own life, your own mission, your own priorities. You're not waiting on her every second. And paradoxically, that independence makes her crave your attention even more. Think about football fans in England. Why do they line up for hours just to see their team at Old Trafford or Anfield? Because the game doesn't happen every day. It's rare. It's scheduled. And when it happens, it's electric. Your attention should feel the same. When you give it, it's full, powerful, undistracted like she's the only person in the world. But when you pull it back, you let her miss it, long for it, chase it. Women in places like London, Manchester, and Brighton are tired of men who smother them with availability. What they crave is a man who can balance presence with absence, engagement with silence, warmth with distance. That balance makes her addicted not just to your attention but to earning it. So remember, don't flutter with your energy. Direct it with precision like a spotlight on a stage. And when the light goes off, let the darkness build anticipation. That's controlled attention, and it's one of the most magnetic powers you'll ever hold. The one thing called mystery. There's a reason why the unknown excites us more than the obvious. Why a locked room in an old manor house in Kent sparks more curiosity than the open drawing room everyone can see. Women feel the same about men. Mystery is not just attractive, it's addictive. Think about the type of men most women encounter in London, Birmingham, or Brighton. They meet guys who overshare everything. Their ex-girlfriends, their income, their problems at work, even their deepest insecurities, all within the first week. Those men think that laying all their cards on the table will make her trust them. But the truth? It makes her bored, because there's no story left to unfold. Now picture the opposite. A man from Oxford meets a woman in Cambridge at a wine bar. She asks, "So what do you do?" He smiles, holds her gaze, and simply says, "I work in a field that keeps me on my toes. Every day is a challenge." Then, he changes the subject back to her. Suddenly, she's left with questions. What field? What challenges? What's the story behind this calm confidence? That curiosity is the start of obsession. Psychologists call it the Zeigarnik effect. People remember unfinished stories more than completed ones. The same applies to attraction. When you reveal everything, the story ends. When you hold back, the story lingers in her mind. She keeps replaying it, trying to fill in the blanks. Mystery doesn't mean being secretive or evasive. It means pacing the reveal. Like a novelist writing chapters, you don't dump the ending in the introduction. You build, you tease, you give her enough to lean in, and you withhold enough to keep her coming back. Let's take a real example. A man in York takes a woman for a walk along the old city walls. She asks about his weekend plans. Instead of giving a boring schedule, he simply says, "Let's just say I've got something lined up that gets my heart racing. But you'll find out eventually." She smiles, intrigued. Her imagination fills in the blanks. Maybe he's adventurous. Maybe he's into extreme sports. Maybe he's planning something daring. Whatever it is, she's hooked. Women in English counties, from Manchester to Canterbury, are drawn to men who leave space for curiosity. It's not about playing games, it's about respecting yourself enough not to give everything away immediately. When you reveal layers over time, each new layer feels like a privilege she earned. Think of yourself as a castle. If every gate, room, and tower were open to the public on the first day, the visit would be over quickly. But if some doors remain closed, if some rooms are revealed only to those who deserve them, the castle becomes unforgettable. That's the power of mystery. So remember this. Don't overshare. Don't reveal your entire hand too soon. Let her guess, let her wonder, let her chase the unknown. Because a woman who is curious is a woman who can't stop thinking about you, and that curiosity becomes her addiction. 4. The one thing called challenge. Here's a hard truth most men in London, Liverpool, or Bristol don't want to hear. Women don't become addicted to men who are easy. They become addicted to men who challenge them. Challenge doesn't mean being harsh, rude, or dismissive. It means you have standards. It means you don't just hand over your approval, you make her earn it. And that sense of earning creates emotional investment, which is the fuel for obsession. Look around at most men in Manchester or Sheffield. The moment a woman shows interest, they bend over backwards to please her. They agree with everything she says. They laugh at every joke. They change their opinions to match hers. In doing so, they make themselves predictable and forgettable. She doesn't feel challenged, she feels bored. But the man who challenges her, playfully but confidently, stands apart. Imagine this. A woman in Brighton teases a man about his jacket, saying it looks too formal. Instead of nervously agreeing, he smiles and says, "That's funny, because this jacket gets me more compliments than anything else I own. Maybe it's just your taste that's off." She laughs. She's not offended, she's intrigued. Because most men would fold under pressure, but he didn't. Women respect men who don't crumble. Think about a woman in Cambridge who's used to boys chasing her because of her looks. Then she meets a man who doesn't compliment her immediately, who talks about his passions instead, who calls her out when she tests him. Suddenly she's hooked. Why? Because she can't win him over easily, and what's rare is valuable. Challenge also builds respect. In relationships across English counties, from Kent to Birmingham, women often say the same thing about the men they adore. He doesn't let me get away with everything. He pushes me to be better. He makes me feel alive. That's what challenge does. It stops her from taking you for granted. But here's the key. You must challenge with charm. Not with anger, not with arrogance, but with playful confidence. Think of it like sparring in boxing. It's not about hurting your opponent, it's about testing. Pushing, making both of you sharper. When you challenge a woman, you flip the script. Instead of you chasing her approval, she starts chasing yours. She wonders, what does he think of me? How can I impress him? How can I keep his interest? That shift is where addiction begins. So whether you're walking through the streets of London or having a drink in a pub in Nottingham, remember this. Don't be the man who agrees with everything. Be the man who challenges, who playfully pushes back, who makes her earn your validation. Because once she starts chasing, once she starts trying to prove herself to you, she won't be able to stop. And that's when you know she's addicted. 5. The one thing called presence. Presence is one of those invisible forces you can't see, but you can feel the second it enters a room. It's the way a man walks into a cafe in Cambridge, orders his coffee without rushing, and makes everyone turn their head without even trying. Women notice presence before they notice looks, before they notice words, before they notice anything else. Most men in places like London or Manchester move through the world with distracted energy. Their eyes are glued to their phones. Their posture slouches, their voices sound rushed. When they meet a woman, they're already somewhere else in their minds, thinking about work deadlines, stressing about football scores, or scrolling endlessly through social media. And a woman can feel that. She feels that he's not truly there with her. And the truth? That lack of presence makes him forgettable. But then there's the man who is different. Imagine a man from Oxford sitting across from a woman at a dinner in York. He's not checking his phone. He's not scanning the room. He's locked into the conversation, his eyes steady, his tone calm, his attention complete. When she speaks, he listens like every word is worth gold. That moment makes her feel rare, valued, important. And when a woman feels that way in a man's presence, she doesn't want it to end. That's when presence becomes addictive. Presence is not about what you say, it's about how you make her feel when you're near. A man with presence doesn't need to shout to get attention. His silence speaks louder than noise. When he walks through the streets of Canterbury, his posture alone tells the world he knows where he's going. When he speaks to a woman in a pub in Bristol, his calm energy makes her feel safe but also curious. Think of presence as the difference between a storm and a lighthouse. Most men are like storms, chaotic, noisy, unpredictable. A woman might notice them, but she won't trust them. The man with presence is like a lighthouse, steady, grounded, and guiding. She feels anchored in his company, like she can breathe deeper just because he's there. And here's what women in English counties crave: a man whose presence makes them feel both calm and alive. That's the paradox. Calm because he's unshaken by chaos. Alive because his focus gives her the sense that she is the only woman in the world. That's the kind of man she remembers at night. The kind she talks about with her friends. The kind she wants to see again. But presence requires practice. It means training yourself to stay in the moment. When she's talking about her childhood in Liverpool, you don't drift off thinking about your car or your bills. You lean in and you ask, what was the best part of growing up there? When she shares her passion for art in London galleries, you don't fake interest. You let her see your curiosity, your genuine engagement. Because here's the secret. Women aren't addicted to men who are physically present. They're addicted to men who are mentally and emotionally present. And that's something most men never learn. But the few who master it, they become unforgettable. 6. The one thing called emotional control. Every woman in every county, whether she's in Brighton, Leeds, or Canterbury, tests men. And she doesn't do it because she's cruel. She does it because she wants to see if you're real. Emotional control is the one thing that separates men she respects from men she forgets. Picture this. A woman in London throws a sharp comment at a man, maybe teasing his job, maybe questioning his style. The average man reacts instantly, defensive, upset, explaining himself, trying to win her approval back. In that moment, he shows he's not in control of himself. She is. And when a woman feels she can push a man off balance so easily, her attraction fades. Now imagine a man in Manchester facing the same test. Instead of snapping or sulking, he smirks and says calmly, "That's a bold opinion. But luckily, I'm not here to impress everyone." Suddenly, the game flips. She expected him to break. He didn't. He stayed in control. And that cool, steady energy creates something powerful inside her. Respect. Women respect men who can stay grounded when tested, because it proves they're not slaves to their emotions. A man with emotional control doesn't lose himself in anger when things go wrong. He doesn't collapse in desperation when she pulls away. He doesn't let rejection destroy his confidence. Instead, he stays calm, steady, composed. In cities like Birmingham or York, women talk about this kind of man with their friends. They say things like, "He doesn't get shaken. He's not like other guys who get dramatic. He makes me feel secure, because nothing seems to rattle him." That's what emotional control does. It creates security, and security is addictive. But emotional control isn't about being cold or robotic. It's about knowing when to react and when to let things pass. It's about smiling when she expects you to argue, staying calm when she expects you to explode, and laughing off the little storms instead of drowning in them. Think of emotional control like standing on the cliffs of Dover during a storm. The winds howl, the waves crash, but the cliffs remain unmoved. That's how a man must be when dealing with a woman's emotions, her moods, her tests. If you stay strong, she feels safe. If you crumble, she feels disappointed. And here's the final truth. Women in English counties don't just want a man they can love. They want a man they can lean on. If you're controlled by your emotions, she feels she has to carry you. But if you control your emotions, she feels she can trust you with hers. And when she trusts you with her emotions, she'll never want to let you go. That's why emotional control isn't just attractive, it's essential. It's the difference between being a temporary fling and being the man she becomes addicted to. Conclusion. So there you have it, 5 things that, when mastered, make a woman addicted to your very presence. Emotional contrast. Controlled attention, mystery, challenge, presence, not tricks. Not games, just deep psychological truths about what women in England and anywhere else can't resist. Remember, it's not about being someone you're not. It's about amplifying the parts of you that make her feel alive, curious, and invested. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.